Welcome to the Talent Economy Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Labbe, Chief People Officer at Toptal. I'm coming to you live from Collision in Toronto, and I'm excited to welcome my guest, Jordan Fisher, CEO of Standard AI. So we are live here at Collision, as we know, and the energy is amazing. Everyone's talking about AI.
I've heard that AI is a thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
Why is it so important for people to attend these tech conferences?
Yeah, I think you get, especially when you're an entrepreneur or you're an early stage startup, you get so focused, you have to, right? Like 99% of your world has to be building a product and taking it to market and making sure you're building the right thing. And you can get tunnel vision, and it's really important to also recognize that there's a million other things happening, especially we're in the middle of probably one of the biggest software revolutions in history with AI. You need to take a step back every now and then and see what everyone else is doing, what they're building. And also they want to hear from you. What are you building? So I think there's this moment where you really need to be part of a community, even as you're also building your own company.
Absolutely. So how does Standard AI define its vision, and what are your goals for the future?
That's a big question. We're actually we started before you could say AI. If you go back when we started in 2017, it was actually kind of a faux pas. You were like, "Oh, we do AI." Like, no.
Yeah, no one wants
that. You sound like a crazy person.
Yes.
You do machine learning. That sounded like
the
sophisticated, and But we've had this thesis for a long time, which is really about embracing the physical world. How do we transform our everyday spaces and experiences? And I think the history of technology has been all about the digital and the things that are behind our screens. And we as humans are adaptive, but we've had to adapt to the technology, right? We teach our kids how to touch type. And, now we're like touchscreen native from the age of 2, like we've adapted to the technology. But I think what's so powerful about computer vision and the power of AI now is actually the technology can start adapting to us. And we can put up cameras, AI-powered cameras in our physical spaces, and the AI natively understands how we act in those spaces, what we're doing, what are our human actions, and then we can layer on great product experiences on top of that. And I think it's really the first time where the technology is strong enough to meet us all the way, to just really understand who we are without us having to adapt backwards.
Wow.
That's exciting. I mean, I know it's kind of general and vague, right? But
no.
I think that's a core, for me, that's a core thesis. And, the implications of that, I think, transform all of, not just physical commerce and retail, which we're going after, but, all of physical industry. Anywhere where there's a space, you put cameras up and you can transform it.
Absolutely. Yes. I've been to some of those spaces, actually, like
Nice.
in New York City, when you could just click and walk out, and
Yeah.
you almost feel like you're stealing something.
Yeah, we say it's like you're stealing, but you pay for it.
Yes, exactly. Like, I can grab all these things and someone's going to get me for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's weird at first, and then it's kind of liberating too. It's, we're used to technology having some physicality to it, and suddenly you're kind of cutting all the cords. Computer vision it's wireless basically, right? So there is no physicality to it, and it just works. And that's, there's a magic to it, and also a discomfort to it at first, because you're used to like holding something in your hand or like interacting with a machine, and suddenly all that just kind of, goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I attended your session yesterday about the future of e-commerce, which was amazing. I learned a lot. So would you mind telling our listeners what the future of retail looks like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. We only had 20 minutes yesterday, and that was, you need 20 hours to talk about this topic. Yeah, I do really think it is about choice, fundamentally. Like we're it's a big world. We're 7 billion people. Retail is $25 trillion plus. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. And that means it's incredibly diverse. And, you've got high-end experiences, low-end experiences. You got people who want to, shop from their couch. You got people that want to go into the store. And, you want, cost-effective entry to the market. You want I want to spend $20,000 on a couch. We were talking yesterday, talking about Restoration Hardware, which is like, for those who don't know, it's a high-end furniture store where you can also have a high-end cocktail, right? So it's like you can walk in, have an amazing cocktail on an amazing couch, and then at the end of it, you could be like, yeah, I think I'll buy this couch for $20,000.
Yeah.
Or you just have
it was just
cocktail.
Very comfortable.
It's a super comfortable couch. Yeah. So, I think, retail is in the business of not just selling things, it's also selling experiences. And I think we can do that a lot better with AI. AI allows us to be more personalized. It also allows us to make things more convenient, which is the business that we're in. Is great. How do we take all of these experiences? In the U.S., for example, there's 150,000 convenience stores. How do we take just that collection of experiences and say, can we make this better? Can I get rid of that 2 minutes of friction that you do every day when you go to get your coffee at a convenience store? Can I get rid of that? Can I make your life a little better every single day? And I think that's the power of AI, is this ability to just take everything we have today, make it a little bit better, as well as unlock completely new opportunities. Where I think about apparel, for example, where you can, one of my friends is running a company that they do apparel try on, basically, right? You can take a image of a t-shirt and be like, actually, what does it look like on this person, right? And suddenly you get a more personalized experience while you're shopping online. So I think there's going to be new experiences, and there's just going to be better existing experiences.
Yeah, I feel like eyeglasses have done that for a while, like the try on at home and put your face on. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Very narrow. Yeah, and I think
Like-
that's a pattern too. Is like in the past, there's been these like very narrow applications, and now suddenly AI makes it easy to take those narrow applications and make them, much more broad and robust too,
Very convenient.
and more convenient.
Yes.
That's the theme.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was surprised yesterday. One of the things that stuck with me from your talk was you said data was dead. You said it during your session. And it's so interesting coming from so many companies and the world of like, you need data to support that. You need analytics to support that. What's the data around that? So, I just wanted to understand like your opinion on that and where that was coming from.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of conversations happening right now in the AI space around what's your moat, right? And I think everyone's kind of freaking out a little bit because on the one hand, with AI, and I think this is really relevant for talent and how you build teams. On the one hand, it's really exciting because you can build an amazing product now with like 2 people, or 3 people. I saw this joke on Twitter the other day, which is like the ideal startup, 5 years ago was CEO, CTO, technical, first engineer, second engineer, basically, right? And now 2023, it's CEO, GPT. And I think what's cool is you can build amazing things with just 1 person or 2 people, right? So it totally changes the nature of the game, changes the nature of talent. You have to move really quickly. That's exciting. It's energizing, but then it's also kind of scary too, because you're like, well, if I could build this myself without having to first build an amazing team, then someone else can do it too, and it's going to get commoditized really quickly. So I think everyone is kind of feeling around for what is the moat, and the traditional moat in machine learning is data. Right? Like that's actually, that's the real crux of it, right?
Yep.
Like the models aren't that hard to do. Building a team was hard, but getting the data was really hard. But what's crazy now is these models, the foundation models, are so strong, they're so powerful out of the box that you don't even need any data sometimes, or maybe you only need a little bit of data to either fine tune it or like 2-shot prompt it to get a good product for your own application. So suddenly, not only are you a 2-person company that can build it quickly, you don't even need that huge treasure trove of data.
Oh, wow.
So it's disruptive to the big incumbents. But then again, like, where's your moat? Because it's not going to be building a team. It's not going to be building the models. It's not going to be having the data, right? It's like, what is the moat? And for me, the moat is actually what's old is new again, right? The moat is great product. Like, you have to understand your space really well. You have to understand your go-to-market, and you have to be a master of that craft of like building a great experience. You're leveraging these new tools. So the people who I think win are the ones that are able to adapt quickly, understand the parameters of this new world that we're in, but then take the advantage of that to craft a really refined, amazing product for a very specific go-to-market.
Right. And the customer experience.
And the customer experience,
That's
everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what you're focused on.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So I'm Toptal's Chief People Officer, right? So I'm all things HR. So I'm always curious to learn about emerging trends or technologies that are going to have an impact on HR, staffing, recruiting, training. So what do you see in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, anything that has a little bit of drudgery associated with it, data entry as an example, right? Or, even, on the talent side of outreach, of trying to find the right people, it's challenging. And usually you sit down with a recruiter and you calibrate, like, here's the profile that I'm looking for. And, maybe I'm the one who's the hiring manager. I'm a deep expert on computer vision or whatever, right? And the recruiter's not. So I need to like explain to them what are the things that I'm seeing in this LinkedIn profile that are kind of like green flags, red flag, that's actually really hard to do. And you do this whole calibration process. That's stuff that, an LLM can do basically for you nowadays, right? Like, here's what looks interesting to me. Here's what's not. You do an embedding of that, and then you're off to the races. So I think, of course, we'll see SaaS products that will do that for us.
Right.
But a lot of companies are just doing it internally because they have a good enough engineering team. And if you look at like OpenAI, I think they're just dogfooding a lot of this internally. They're like, oh, well, we're doing outbound. We're just going to use GPT to do our own outbound, right? We're doing outbound for talent. We'll just use, they're dogfooding it. I think the bigger, more sophisticated companies will just do it themselves. But then, of course, there's going to be this cornucopia of startups that will hyper specialize in helping with, HR, whether it's talent or internal, et cetera. So I think it's really early days.
Yeah. And I can see it in recruiting and things, where we record interviews, for instance, and then we have them scripted, so then somebody can read the outcome, right? So we've started to use it and use things when we're searching LinkedIn for certain profiles. But from an HR perspective of that touch and that emotional and the empathy.
Yeah, you can never replace.
Yeah.
You can simulate, and maybe it's, who knows what's happening inside of the model. Maybe it's
maybe they're getting emotional
yeah, right.
on the inside.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's theory of mind is complicated, but certainly it's able to emulate. But there's a difference between that and knowing that another human actually cares, right?
Yeah.
And that's that's priceless. So I think AI is going to be in the business of getting rid of the drudgery, so that when you are having a human experience, it's actually more genuine,
Right.
Because you're focused just on that piece that nothing else can simulate.
Right. The administrative stuff is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think the same for, finance and building
Yeah.
financial models and, doing
Legal.
legal for sure. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So all that stuff I think is just really ripe for disruption over the next, probably, I want to say like 2 years, but really it's like 3 months, it's like,
Yes.
they're just moving.
I was just going to say it. So in the future, so, what do you see are some of the biggest challenges coming down for AI in the coming years?
Ooh, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's definitely adapt or die, first of all, right? So I think from a business perspective, it's really easy to be like, well, look, here's how we, this used to be an advantage as you build up all your internal processes and you have a lot of, cultural DNA about how you work together. And that's part of your strength as a company is you've built up this way that the company runs.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly, actually, you need to reevaluate everything or die, I think. And there'll be an advantage to new companies who are like, well, we're AI native, right? Not just in terms of the product that we build, but the way that we run our company, the way that we run our team, the way that we collaborate together, like we're AI native. So they're going to have a huge advantage. And I think the danger right now is how do existing companies modernize more quickly, right? And this isn't like if you look at past technology revolutions, you had like 5 to 10 years to kind of like
Right.
see the trend and be like, okay, well, we'll slowly adapt. I think now it's like, what are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, what's your generative AI? We just internally rolled out our generative AI policy not for the products we build, but just for our engineers who want to use it to write code faster, right? Like,
Yep.
and that was probably too slow. We probably should have had a Gen AI policy 6 months ago.
Yep. We've been talking about the same thing.
Okay,
Yep.
nice. Yeah.
And I can relate to you because, Toptal's been fully remote since we started
Yeah.
almost 13 years ago. Never had an office, always been remote. So to me, I feel that with you is it's also adapting to the remote. Like people are going remote now.
Yeah.
If you don't offer remote, you're going to kind of be left behind.
No one wants dedicated back to office, but hybrid, I think there's some people that
Right.
like it. But yeah, mostly people are team remote, I think.
Yep. So I understand that.
Yeah.
So thank you for this amazing conversation, Jordan. I appreciate it. So one last question that I ask all of my guests is, what has been your proudest moment as a leader?
Oh, wow. I mean, it always comes down to team ultimately, building an amazing team, finding, an amazing talent that you're like, oh, like I need to get you on board, and, you work hard, you finally close them, get them integrated into the team. And then you see them take something that, you had in your head, maybe you weren't even working on it yet. You just had like this vision of like, this should be the way that this part of the company runs or this part of the product looks, finding that person, setting them up for success, and then seeing it take off is, super, super exciting. We have many examples of that, but I think it's always about, finding someone and having them succeed. It's just a great, great feeling.
Awesome. Well, Jordan Fisher, CEO of Standard AI, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, this is awesome. Thanks for having me.